This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today, we have a lovely neighbor on with us. Her name is Ashley Keindel from PawLished Pets Pet Grooming. How are you, dear?
I'm good. How are you?
I wish the sun was shining like it was yesterday, but beggars can't be choosers, right?
Me too. I'm sick of our winter.
Yeah, I'm over it. Definitely. How are the doggies today?
They're doing well. We got some big guys in today. We've got a Great Pyrenees that's broaching the 200-pound mark, and a Labradoodle in there over 100 pounds. So apparently it's Big Dog Day today.
Big dog day today. Big sucky day today.
Exactly.
The bigger they are, the harder to suck, right?
It's so true. We love our big dogs.
So I've had the pleasure of randomly walking into your shop one day and getting to know you. We spent a bit of time together. And then ever since I've left after that and in my inner circles and talking with other business owners here in Barrie, I've only heard nothing except for good things about you and your business. And even just recently, I had somebody come through my way who was looking to get their dog groomed, and they said, "Hey, do you know anybody?" And I'm like, "Look, I have heard nothing but great things about Ashley and her business." And then, of course, nonetheless, I wouldn't expect anything less. The customer was monster happy with not only how her pooch looked, but about her experience from start to finish as well, too. So I knew it. I knew you had a good business.
That's fantastic. We love hearing that.
Just makes me want to work with you even that much more. Okay, so let's dive in straight. Right. For the people who don't know, they kind of know a little bit, I think, of what we're talking about. We're definitely talking about animals. We're talking about grooming. And so maybe let's dive in. Tell us a little bit more about your business.
Sure. So PawLished Pets, we have a couple of different avenues that we offer services. So we offer our dog services, which is our all breed, all size dog grooming. So we're experienced with breed clips and pet trims and everything that you would need to get your dog groomed in a comfortable environment. We also specialize in deshedding services. So we provide some of the best deshedding in Barrie, I'd like to say. And we also work with, as I was just saying, the larger breeds. So I know that there's some limited options for people with larger dogs in this area, and we will gladly take them on. We love our big dogs. We also have full service rabbit grooming. So everything from moulting blowouts to full haircuts for the long haired breeds and everything that a rabbit would need for their exterior care. Currently we do cat nail trims. I don't offer any other cat services other than that at the moment, but we're looking to expand on that one. And lastly, the most unique part, I think, of our business is, and you and I have spoken about this, the Grooming Desensitization Training. So dogs that are uncomfortable with the grooming process, or they've maybe had a bad experience somewhere else, we bring them in and we work with them one-on-one training and just piece by piece desensitize them to the grooming process so that they're comfortable and happy and they trust us while they're with us.
Trust is a big thing. We talk a lot about that on the show, and it's nice to know from afar. If I'm not your client, which currently I'm not your client, but you just said the word deshedding. I told you at some point I was going to be in. I have a little story to tell you about that too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Is that, somebody can come in regardless of how their animal feels about if they had a bad experience in the past. Maybe it's their first time. If you're nervous as a pet owner, you have a system in place, a service in place to be able to take, that animal and, desensitize them to the process and so that it's all good and that they can get their services performed, especially those ones that really need it, where they're, covers all their eyes and stuff. And if you let it go too long, it's not good for them, right?
Yeah, or any of the matting, right? Those sorts of issues. We need to take care of that stuff. So whether the dog is completely uncomfortable with the process or very used to the process, we have all sorts of ways to be able to work with them.
So you mentioned rabbits. I don't remember. You might have briefly, I think the last time I popped in to say hi, you told me, I think you showed me a couple pictures. Those guys can get pretty big, eh?
Yeah, yeah. My guys are a good size. My rabbits are both of them. I guess Amy is 10 pounds, which is a big rabbit,
Right.
and Sheldon's almost 12.
Wow.
So we get some big guys, but we get some really neat little ones in as well. It's we did one named Beefcake yesterday.
I was playing video games for the weekend. I had somebody's gamer tag was Beefcake. I thought that was the funniest thing, and somebody named their rabbit that.
It was great. He was so cute. He's up on our social media today, so you can go take a look at him. He's adorable. So
Phenomenal.
cute.
What?
So yeah, they're fun. They're just so much fun.
I got to meet that pet owner. That one got me going. Best thing I've heard all day. So, okay, so I would have never thought like rabbits would have been that popular as pets, number one, because if you're not in it, you're not in it. But the grooming side of it, like are they just like dogs where like they need to get groomed? Like I'm new to this.
Yeah, they are. So if you look at your sort of short coat rabbits that you would normally see as someone's pet, or almost like a little cottontail you would see outside, that sort of coat, they have requirements with their nails and their ears and their scent glands and their sanitary area, and they'll molt, when they almost like a husky, when a husky gets that tufting fur that comes out.
Yeah.
Rabbits get exactly the same thing.
Oh.
So removing all of that, making sure that they've shed everything out properly, that their skin and their eyes are in good shape. There's more to it than you would think, funny enough. So it's a good reason to bring the bunnies in, is to have that exterior health check done.
Very cool. Man, you learn so much doing the podcasting and learning about new businesses. That one blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah. They're fun.
So you have, okay, that's not what a normal person would think in their mind as, let's call it unpopular, versus what is a major popular thing that I think a lot of people certainly understand is shedding of their dogs. And, especially if you have a long-haired dog. I have a long-haired Australian Shepherd. He was turning 3 in April. And man, I just gave him a bath the other day. Well, not the other day, I guess this is 2 weeks ago. I gave him a bath and he always sheds like crazy after, but this was like an uncontrollable amount of shedding where I had to brush him for like 4 or 5 days in a row, and I'm still peeling stuff. It's, I guess, that time of the year, right?
It is. Well, funny enough, this didn't used to be the time of the year. It used to be a little bit later, getting into sort of April, May would be that blowout, right? When they explode sort of season. But with the weather that we're seeing now throughout, we've got 15 degrees in the middle of January. And so the shedding breeds are requiring a lot more work than they used to, because they'll grow in that thick undercoat as it gets cold. And then all of a sudden it gets warm and they go, oh, wait a minute, I don't need this. I'm going to shed it out. So then they start to shed it out, but then it gets cold again. So then they get more in and then they shed it out. And so it's not a yearly cycle like it used to be. It's very different in terms of them reacting to whatever weather we happen to get. And so the deshedding process is even more important now, because we need to get out that dead fur that was going to shed already so that the new stuff can grow in nicely. And it's not just a 4 times a year, once a season thing anymore, because our weather has just changed the dynamic of how the coat grows in, how we want to remove what needs to come out to let the new stuff come. It's really quite a process now.
So what goes into deshedding a dog?
Well, we do a lot of prep before the bath. So a good brush out beforehand. We're making sure that we're removing any matting or severe impacting before it gets into the bath and gets wet. Once it gets wet, those mats and that impact will just crunch right up and get worse. So we want to make sure we've removed anything that's going to become a problem before the bath. We're also going to do their nails and clean their ears and do a little toothbrush and that sort of thing to take care of those. Then we pop them in the bath, and we do a specialty shampoo we use that's meant for deshedding. So it will actually, it's really cool stuff. It helps lift the coat and get it almost prepared to shed out. And we use jetting in the bath. So we're actually removing the fur with water. So it's completely painless. We'll jet down the dog, and you just see the fur come out of the coat, all that dead stuff, and just clump into the bottom of the bath. So we get a bunch of the fur out then. But the most important part of the deshedding process is the blow drying. So we have high velocity dryers here that we use that help blow out and aerate that coat. So if you think about when the coat gets that impacting and it gets compounded sort of together, we want the coat to be loose and flowing. And think when your dog runs and the coat just flows beautifully. That's what we want to be seeing. We don't want to see that stuck coat, because then we know there's stuff in there that should be coming out. So the blow dryer gets almost all of it out. Then when we're done the blow dry, we normally give them a little bit of a break. And we bring them out onto the table, and we do that end finishing brush out so that we're getting out all the last bits and pieces that were left over. And you see such a difference in the coat when it's finished. And people are just, these dogs aren't getting full haircuts by any means, but people come back and they're just shocked at the difference in the look of the coat when we're done. It's such a cool service, and it's a lot of fun to do.
I'm definitely coming in for that, especially after the last experience I had. I'd vacuum twice. How many times I brushed my dog, plus the bath, all of this extra work. It's just so much easier to just come in and have you do it.
It sure is. It sure is. And of course, we've got lots of tools and equipment that we use that make it a lot easier for us to be managing the dogs in the bathtub and that most people certainly aren't going to have at home.
So tell our listeners a little bit about your journey. How and why did you get into doing what you're doing? Were you doing something different before, or were you kind of born into this?
No, it's a bit of an interesting story, actually. I had a love of dogs from the time I was very small. And I got that from my mother. Funny enough, it was, you sit down at bedtime to read the children's book. And my mom and I used to go through the encyclopedia of dog breeds. That was our reading when I was a little kid. And so I grew up with a big Alaskan Malamute, and I had a golden retriever as well. And my mom taught me really the importance of caring for them and all the benefits you saw and all the things you got out of the dog when they were well trained and well looked after. Because your experience with your dog is different when you put the time and effort into them. That what you get back there's nothing like it, right? There's nothing like the love of a dog.
Totally.
And so that was, as a little kid, that was really instilled in me. And when I graduated university, I went into a corporate job in the transportation industry. And I got myself a little dog, a little papillon named Pebbles, which I've shown you lots of photos of.
Yeah.
And she actually had a horrible experience at the groomers. I had taken her to be groomed a couple of times, and I had no problem at all. And I took her in when we were up at our cottage. And I thought, I'll have her groomed. She was filthy, right? Running around at the cottage.
Yeah.
And I took her in. And Pebbles was a human dog. She loved humans. She probably would have gone home with almost anybody. And when I went back to pick her up, I noticed that she was just clawing to sort of get away from the woman that was bringing her back out to me. And I thought, well, that's weird. And when she saw me, she let out this scream that I'd never heard her make that sound before. It was horrifying. And so I asked them what happened. They said absolutely nothing had happened. It wasn't a problem. And I took her back to the cottage, and she hid underneath a bed for 3 days. 3.
Wow.
And she came out to pee and have a little bit of a drink, and that was it. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't interact with anybody. To this day, I have no idea what happened at that grooming salon, but something happened. There's no doubt about it. And so when I decided I was going to leave my corporate job and I knew I wanted to work with dogs, I looked at a bunch of different avenues. I looked at training. I looked at doing some of the daycare stuff. But it occurred to me with grooming that was when I was going to get the most amount of time with the dog, because people drop the dog off and then I have them for 3 to 4 hours. Whereas if you're doing training, you're more training the human than you are the dog in a lot of cases.
Right. Yeah.
And I really wanted to work with the dogs. And so by the time I got through it, thinking to myself that I wanted to be sure no dog ever experienced what my dog experienced at that groomer when they were in my care. I just wanted to make the grooming experience more comfortable and better for the dog. And so that's how I ended up getting into it. Funny enough, it was my dog that promoted me to go, wait a minute, maybe I can do this a little bit differently and they can have a better experience.
Interesting story. Are there any like myths or misconceptions when it comes to you hear from clients on your side of the fence?
Quite a few, especially in our industry, I think. With the myths, I think we play with puppies all day is always a good, oh, you guys play with puppies all day. And no, we get peed on and we get barked at and we get bitten, and it's not all play all the time. So that's one myth for sure. Another one I find really interesting is hypoallergenic. The amount of people that think a dog is going to be hypoallergenic. And there's really no such thing, because people are allergic to dander. That's what they have the reaction to. And there are no dogs that don't have dander. There's some that have significantly less, so you would have a lot less of a problem. But no dog is truly hypoallergenic, funny enough. Misconceptions. I was thinking about this. I think the biggest misconception is that a proper groom can be done at home without training. And it's the bits and pieces and the details of the process are really, really important. So it's funny because I think you and I might have talked about this before, but I had a doodle come in that I had done the puppy groom, and then I hadn't seen them again. And it was about a year later, and the wife called me and she said, we really need to book a groom. And I said, okay, and we booked her in. And she said that her husband had been grooming the dog at home for the past year.
Oh, okay.
So we got her in and we got her up on the table, and she was really uncomfortable. And we were trying to determine what was going on. And we started to remove some of the matting on her around her legs and that sort of thing. And we got down to where they have, the rear dew claws? They've got like sort of the thumb on the front.
Yeah.
Some dogs can actually get those on the back legs as well.
Okay.
It's Great Pyrenees and some of the like herding or mountain type breeds. They were the ones that had them, and they've been mixed into all sorts of breeds now, but they're not always there, right? There's something that is sometimes there. And I guess the husband had not been trimming the rear dew claws as he was grooming. So when we finally uncovered that back rear dew claw, it had actually grown in and around and was growing back into the dog's pad.
Oh, geez.
So almost 3/4 of an inch of nail was underneath the dog's skin. So we had to stop right away. It was very infected. When we had shaved the matting away, then you could smell it, you could see it. It was just a mess. And we had to send the poor girl home to the vet to have it surgically removed. So she had to go and have it surgically removed. And I mean, it was infected and it was in there. And there's a lot of pain and suffering that dog went through, that just regular grooming, even coming in for regular nail trims, could have solved that problem. So coming in to see us and having us take that overall look of the exterior health of your dog is really important. There's
You guys
a lot of
ticks and everything too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's where I see a massive benefit. Like, I take my dog in the trails, and it was just recently on social media, I saw a thing about ticks, and you think about it, but you don't really sometimes even realize, like, when I'm looking for a tick, I'm looking for what I think is bigger than really what it is. They are really, really, really tiny. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it.
And that's the other thing with that blow dryer, is when we have a dog underneath the blow dryer, we get to see every inch of their skin. And so it allows us to find any ticks or skin abnormalities, but the ticks are out of control as of the last 2 years, especially from what I understand in the Barrie area, seems to have been hit really hard with it. Yeah. I removed 2 ticks last week.
Wow, crazy.
Just last week. And I mean, normally we wouldn't have seen them until May or June for sure. And we see them all year round now.
Yeah, once it's above 0 degrees, they come out of their hibernation, right?
Yeah. They say they can even come out at -2.
Oh, really? Wow.
I've heard the rumor.
Crazy. Okay, so cool story. Very informative discussion on what you do for a living. And let's kind of switch gears a little bit here. Obviously, you have a love for animals and you get to work with them all day. But when you're not grooming, when you're not working on or in your business, what do you like to do for fun?
Yes, good question. Well, I do. I like to groom my own rabbits. I have a lot of fun with them. And of course, since they're mine, I can do anything I want. And so Sheldon gets the full body mohawk quite often. And Amy will get like hearts carved into her coat or little shapes. And so I have a lot of fun experimenting with those guys at home. But other than that, I'm really an outdoorsy kind of girl. So I used to water ski competitively. So I try to keep up with that a little bit. And I love to paddleboard. I skeet shoot. So the more time I can spend outdoors, the happier I am, for sure.
So you like being on the water?
Oh yeah. Water is my home for sure.
Do you do any boating?
Used to. We had a cottage in Gravenhurst, Muskoka for quite a while. Yeah. And so we always had a boat up there. But over COVID, we decided to offload it. So now I try to grab a cottage here and there throughout the summer when I can.
Yeah, totally. I grew up boating and fishing and all that fun stuff, and swimming and tubing, and it's wakeboarding. I did a bit of wakeboarding. I think I've only ever been on a set of water skis once in my life. I thought that was pretty difficult, and I'm a natural athlete, so you did that competitively. That's pretty cool.
It was a lot of fun. I used to, I was a jump specialist. So, when you see them off the ramp, used to be my specialty, I guess I'd say. So when we did international competitions, all I did was jump, and that's a ton of fun. Let me tell you,
getting some serious hang time with that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. We can be up there for a while, but it's a long ways down when you're not in the right position too. So.
Oh yeah. Water can feel like a ton of bricks, especially when you're moving.
It's like pavement for sure. But every crash was worth it. It was one of the best things I ever did. I loved it.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Can you describe us a maybe a hardship or a life challenge that you've experienced? Could be in your personal life, could be in your business life, that, you kind of came across. Sometimes life will throw things our way. Maybe you overcame that. Maybe it made you stronger. Maybe it made you better for it.
Actually, I think I'd probably draw on the water skiing for that. It was water skiing was my whole life when I was growing up. I sort of blood, sweat, and tears was all water skiing. I just wanted to be the best that I possibly could at it. And I ended up having to retire due to an injury, which was really difficult, really, really difficult. I didn't want to leave the sport the way that I did. And it was my passion. And I had really lost my passion when I lost skiing, and I became very lost. I didn't know who I was without the sport. And I got into the corporate world and worked those jobs and still never found anything that fulfilled me the way that skiing did. And so it was a real hardship when I had to retire. And I came across grooming, right? And it was funny because it was the first time that I really felt like I had a passion for something again. And so I think losing my passion really made me appreciate the passion that I have now for grooming and what I get to do every day. I get to wake up and do something that I just absolutely love every day. So I consider myself pretty lucky for that.
Yeah, I could relate to that. When I was in the car business, I was making some pretty good coin, and then COVID took it all away. I had to go all the way down to rock bottom to kind of do a little soul searching and figure it all out, and then build it all back up from scratch. And it's been quite the journey. So I can 100% relate to that experience.
It's interesting how we find what we love eventually.
Happy you found it, because you do a phenomenal job at it.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so what's one thing that you wish our listeners knew about your business?
I think that it's so much more than just a business to me. People are leaving their most prized possession with me, and I need to take the ownership of that. And I think it's so important that I treat every dog like they're my dog, right? It's not just another client coming through the door. This is somebody's baby. And I think one of the best ways we separate ourselves is that it is so important to us. We don't ever proclaim to be vets. We're not vets, but we are the monitor of the exterior health of your dog. So we document lumps, bumps, sore spots, weight, behavior changes, everything you could possibly think of. I have the management tools in place to be able to track all of that. So if there's any changes with your dog, if a lump gets bigger or a new one shows up, or there's some sort of abnormality that we found, we're able to communicate that with the clients and really be part of their health and wellness team. And I think that's such an important part of our business. And I don't know, a lot of people think of it as just a haircut. And to us, it's so much more than that. We want to be part of that healthcare and wellness team for the dog and be providing the best service we can possibly provide to our customers so that they're able to provide the best life for their pets.
That's probably one of the best things you could have said. Probably one of the most important things that was said in the last 29 minutes or so. It makes it, I know how I feel being a dog owner after what you just said. And I think that's important for a lot of people to know who do have pets, whether they're not just dogs, but rabbits also. Yep. And I would imagine when you're bringing a cat in to get their nails trimmed, that, that kind of process is in place as well too. And it's important to know, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think it's a really important part of the business for sure. Is just the care that we take from all angles.
And so if anybody's interested in wanting to get some deshedding done, or they've got a rabbit, or maybe a nail trim for their cat, or a bath for their dog, or just a general overall groom, and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Best way is phone or text. So you can get us at 705-816, and the end of the phone number is dogs. So that's 3647. Or you can email us at polishedpetsgrooming@gmail.com. We're just working on launching our website. So I'm hoping that's going to be up in the next couple of weeks.
Phenomenal. Exciting stuff. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Great person, great business. Really happy to do this.
Oh, thanks so much, Sean. We really appreciate it.
No worries. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.